Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is the 1953 Cleveland Indians MLB baseball season. Again, the Tribe was playing in the American League, the junior circuit of Major League Baseball, and home games in Cleveland were played at Cleveland Municipal Stadium downtown, north of Public Square on Lake Erie. The Tribe had an outstanding year in 1953, finishing in second place with a record of 92 and 62, 30 games over 500, winning percentage of .604, tremendous. 8.5 games out of first. The first place team was the New York Yankees, who were 99 and 52, winning percentage of .656. Wow. Second place, the Cleveland Indians, 92 and 62. Third place, the Chicago White Sox, 89 and 65. Fourth place, the Boston Red Sox, 84 and 69. Fifth place, the Washington Senators, 76 and 76. Sixth place, the Detroit Tigers, 60 and 94. Seventh place, the Connie Mack's Philadelphia Athletics, 59 and 95. And in eighth and last place, the St. Louis Browns, who were 54 and 100, winning percentage of .351, 46.5 games out of first. This was the last year of the St. Louis Browns. The following 1954, they would be in Baltimore and renamed the Orioles. And during the 1950s, a number of teams moved. So St. Louis no longer had two teams after the Browns departed. Eventually, during the 50s, the Boston Braves moved to Milwaukee, and the Brooklyn Dodgers moved to Los Angeles, and the New York Giants moved to San Francisco. So that's how it was. On May 13th, the Tribe was 13 and 6 in first place. Twice during the season, the Tribe beat the Yankees 3 straight, with the winning pitchers being Bob Lemon, Mike Garcia, and Early Wynn. Tribe attendance was 1,069,176, or an average of 13,796 per game. And the attendance was down close to 400,000. A popular 1953 song by Patti Page was, "How much is that doggy in the window? Woof, woof, the one with the waggly tail." The Korean War ended in August of 1953. South Korea remained independent, but North Korea, the peninsula, Korea remained divided, and North Korea remained communist. Willie Mays, star player for the New York Giants, missed the entire 1953 season due to service in the U.S. Army connected to the Korean War. In February 1953, Ted Williams, Boston Red Sox slugger, was in the U.S. Marines Air Force and was on a bombing mission to North Korea. He hit small arms fire hit his airplane, and this was a real close call. There was leaking fuel, his radio was out, and he had to have an emergency landing. The plane had 30 feet of trailing fire, and the landing gear did not work. So he landed the plane on its belly on the airstrip at the Marine base K-13 and skidded 8,000 feet. A very close call. It could have been the end of his life. He became friends with John Glenn over there in the Korean War. Ted Williams was upset about the progress of the Korean War, and believed the United States was not fighting to win in Korea. By July of '53, Williams was discharged from the Marines and returned to the Red Sox. He had soft hands, and when he was batting, his hands were bleeding, so he wore golf gloves, while his hands got tougher. And this was imitated by other players, eventually led to batting gloves today the most MLB players wear. I read a fine book. The title is Shoeless Joe and Me by Dan Gutman, 2002. It's about Shoeless Joe Jackson, who played for the Cleveland Naps from 1910 to 1914, and the Cleveland Indians in 1915. And in this book, this boy, Joe Stoshak, travels back to the 1919 World Series and has a very interesting encounter, spends some time with Shoeless Joe Jackson. Now, the new leader of the ownership group for the Tribe was Myron H. Wilson, who was born in 1887 in Cleveland, Ohio, and died in 1962 in Cleveland at age 74. Late in '52, Wilson purchased Ellis Ryan's share of the Cleveland Indians, and he became the president and principal owner. 1952, Wilson was the In the late 50s, Wilson sold the tribe to William R. Daley. Myron H. Wilson was a businessman and insurance executive and went to Yale University. Myron H. Wilson. Again, Hank Greenberg was the tribe general manager, and Greenberg was the tribe GM and part owner from 1950 to 1957. Cleveland sports writers were highly critical of Greenberg, and Franklin Whitey Lewis was relentless in his criticism of the GM. Now, during this time, MLB teams, many of them who had black players, had an unofficial quota. However, with the tribe, there was no quota, and he would sign as many black players as the team needed, or he saw fit to play. Now, during this time, again, hotels were not accepting all players black and white, so very often they had to make separate accommodations. And Greenberg, if that was the case, if a hotel would not accept all players, black and white, he would find a new hotel which would accept all the players, and they would lose a lot of business. Hank Greenberg. Jack Graney was back as a tribe radio broadcaster on WERE. Graney played for the Cleveland Naps in 1908, and from 1910 to 1914, and with the Cleveland Indians from 1915 to 1922. He was a tribe radio broadcaster from 1932 to 1953. This was the end of his time as a tribe broadcaster. He died in 1978 at age 91 and was inducted into the Cleveland Indians Hall of Fame in 2012. What an amazing life and career for Jack Graney. Jimmy Dudley was his broadcast partner on WERE radio, and Dudley was a tribe radio broadcaster from 1948 to 1968. Jimmy Dudley. On television, Bob Neal was a TV broadcaster for the tribe on WXEL-TV. Neal was a tribe TV broadcaster from 1952 to 53. And from 1962 to 64, he was a tribe radio broadcaster from 1957 to 1961. And from 1965 to 1972, Bob Neal. Neal's partner on television was Red Jones on WXEL, and Jones was a tribe broadcaster from 1952 to 1953. So this was the end of his time in Cleveland. Red Jones. Al Lopez was back as tribe manager. Lopez played for the tribe in 1947. He was tribe manager from 1951 to 1956. Years later, his son, Al Lopez Jr., said, quote, "There was a lot of pressure, but I don't know that it was something that was bad pressure. Those were the heydays of the Cleveland Indians. I mean, those were great times. The city of Cleveland was just consumed by the Indians. The Cleveland Browns were world champions, but they took a back seat to the Indians. Everything in that town revolved around baseball, and my father was at the heart of it." Al Lopez. The coaching staff included Tony Cuccinello, who was back, and Cuccinello was a tribe coach from 1952 to 1956. Tony Cuccinello. Mel Harder was back as tribe pitching coach. Harder was a tribe player from 1928 to 1947. He was tribe pitching coach from 1948 to 1963. He threw out the first pitch at Cleveland Municipal Stadium in 1932 and threw out the last ceremonial pitch at the stadium in 1993. Mel Harder. Red Kress was a new tribe coach. Kress was a tribe coach from 1953 to 1960. He was born in 1907 in Columbia, California, and died in 1962 in Los Angeles, California at age 55. Kress, during his playing career, batted .286 with 89 home runs and 799 RBIs. He played for the St. Louis Browns, Chicago White Sox, Washington Senators, Detroit Tigers, and New York Giants from 1927 to 1946. He was a shortstop, first baseman, and third baseman. He was known for his good disposition and being in perpetual motion. He could adapt to any position that they had him play, even pitching. In the minor leagues for the Toronto Maple Leafs, he played in a 9-inning game and played each position in that game. 1945, playing for Toronto, he threw a no-hitter for 8 1/3 innings, but lost in the ninth, 1-0 on a hit, a walk, and an error. During his playing career, he had 1,454 hits, 298 doubles, 58 triples, 691 runs scored, 47 stolen bases in 1,391 games. He was a coach for the New York Giants, the Tribe, and the Los Angeles Angels in the American League. 1961. He was a manager in the minors for the Sacramento Solons. He also played for Mexico for Indios de Ciudad Juarez. He was a coach for the New York Mets in 1962 with Casey Stengel. 2 months after that season, he died of a heart attack at age 55. 1937, he was a Double-A MVP in the minor leagues. In the minors, he played for the Louisville Colonels, Minneapolis Millers, and Tulsa Oilers, Red Cress. Bill Loeb was back as Tribe coach, and Loeb was a Tribe coach from 1951 to 1956. Bill Loeb. Now the starting lineup, Jim Heejun was the catcher. Heejun batted .217 with 65 hits. He scored 37 runs, 10 doubles, a triple, 9 home runs, 37 RBIs, a stolen base, 25 walks in 112 games. And Heejun was with Cleveland from 1941 to 1942, and from 1946 to 1957. An outstanding defensive catcher, tremendous player, Jim Heejun. Bill Glynn was at first base. Glynn batted .243 with 100 hits. He scored 60 runs, 14 doubles, 2 triples, 3 home runs, 30 RBIs, a stolen base, 44 walks in 147 games. And Glynn was with Cleveland from 1952 to 1954. Bill Glynn. Bobby Avila was at second base. Avila batted .286 with 160 hits. He scored 85 runs, 22 doubles, 3 triples, 8 home runs, 55 RBIs, 10 stolen bases, 58 walks in 141 games. And Avila was with Cleveland from 1949 to 1958. Bobby Avila. George Strickland was at shortstop. Strickland batted .284 with 119 hits. He scored 43 runs, 17 doubles, 4 triples, 5 home runs, 47 RBIs, 51 walks in 123 games. Strickland played for Cleveland from 1952 to 1957 and from 1959 to 1960. And was a Tribe interim manager for parts of the 1964 and 1966 seasons. George Strickland. Al Rosen was at third base. Rosen batted .336 with 201 hits. He scored 115 runs, 27 doubles, 5 triples. He led the American League with 43 home runs. He led the American League with 145 RBIs. Gosh, 8 stolen bases, 85 walks in 154 games. Rosen was with Cleveland from 1947 to 1956. He was the 1953 American League MVP. Almost won the Triple Crown. He just finished 1 point behind Mickey Vernon in the batting average. He was the second unanimous MVP in the voting. The other one was Ty Cobb in 1911. He also played on the 1953 All-Star Game. And in 2003, the Indians gave away bobblehead dolls for Al Rosen's 1953 MVP award. Tremendous season for Al Rosen. Dale Mitchell was in left field. Mitchell batted .300 with 150 hits. He scored 76 runs, 26 doubles, 4 triples, 13 home runs, 60 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 42 walks, and 134 games. And Mitchell was with Cleveland from 1946 to 1956. Dale Mitchell. Larry Doby was in center field. Doby batted .263 with 135 hits. He scored 92 runs, 18 doubles, 5 triples, 29 home runs, 102 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 96 walks. He struck out 121 times in 149 games, and Doby was with Cleveland from 1947 to 1955, and in 1958. He was a Tribe coach in 1974. He made the All-Star team in 1953 for the 5th year in a row, and set an American League record by striking out 121 times. Tremendous season for Larry Doby. Harry Simpson was in right field. Simpson batted .227 with 55 hits. He scored 25 runs, 3 doubles, a triple, 7 home runs, 22 RBIs, 18 walks in 82 games. And Simpson was with Cleveland from 1951 to 1953 and in 1955. Harry Simpson. The bench players included Wally Westlake, who played some outfield. Westlake batted .330 with 72 hits. He scored 42 runs, 7 doubles, a triple, 9 home runs, 46 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 35 walks in 82 games. And Westlake was with Cleveland from 1952 to 1955. An outstanding year for Wally Westlake. Luke Easter played some first base. Easter batted .303 with 64 hits. He scored 26 runs, 9 doubles, 7 7 home runs, 31 RBIs, 15 walks in 68 games, and Easter was with Cleveland from 1949 to 1954. The 4th game of the season, he had a fractured foot after getting hit by the pitch and was out until June 28th. Luke Easter. Bob Kennedy played some outfield. Kennedy batted .236 with 38 hits. He scored 22 runs, 5 doubles, 3 home runs, 22 RBIs, 19 walks in 100 games. And Kennedy was with Cleveland from 1948 to 1954. Bob Kennedy. Al Smith played some outfield. Smith batted .240 with 36 hits. He scored 28 runs, 9 doubles, 3 home runs, 14 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 20 walks in 47 games. Smith was born in 1928 in Kirkwood, Missouri, and died in 2002 in Hammond, Michigan at age 73. For his playing career, he batted .272 with 164 home runs and 676 RBIs. Smith played for the Cleveland Indians, Chicago White Sox, Baltimore Orioles, and Boston Red Sox from 1953 to 1964. He was a 3-time All-Star in 1955 with the Tribe, and in 1960 when they had with the White Sox when they had 2 All-Star games that year. He also played in the Negro Leagues for the Cleveland Buckeyes from 1946 to 1948. He won a Negro American League title in 1947 with the Cleveland Buckeyes. He's one of the 100 greatest Cleveland Indians. He's in the Greater Akron Baseball Hall of Fame. They called him Fuzzy. In high school, he scored 10 touchdowns in 1 game, and he was also a Golden Gloves boxing champion. He won an American League title in 1954 with the Tribe. He led off the 1954 World Series with a home run. With the White Sox, owner Bill Veeck, who owned the White Sox at that time, had a game in his honor. Anyone who was named Smith, Smythe, Schmidt, Smith, and Smith with an E was admitted free with a button that said, "I'm a Smith and I'm for Al." The 1959 World Series playing for the White Sox, Game 2 at Comiskey Park, Smith was in left field. There was a home run hit by Charlie Neal of the Dodgers. A famous photograph of a fan who dumped a beer which fell in Al Smith's face. Smith estimated that he signed that famous photo 200,000 times. After he retired, he was a manager for the Chicago Park District Baseball Program from 1966 to 1981 and worked in community relations for the Chicago White Sox. Al Smith. Ray Boone was at shortstop, or played some shortstop. Boone batted .241 with 27 hits. He scored 21 runs, a double, 2 triples, 4 home runs, 21 RBIs, a stolen base, and walked 24 times. Boone played for Cleveland from 1948 to 1953. This was the end of his time in Cleveland. His MLB career continued until 1960. Ray Boone. Joe Tipton was a spare catcher. Tipton batted .229 with 25 hits. He scored 17 runs, 2 doubles, 6 home runs, 13 RBIs, 19 walks in 47 games. Tipton was with Cleveland in 1948, and from 1952 to 1953, this was the end of his time in Cleveland. His MLB career continued until 1954. Joe Tipton. Joe Ginsburg was another spare catcher. Ginsburg batted .284 with 31 hits. He scored 10 runs, 4 doubles, 10 RBIs, 14 walks in 46 games. Ginsburg was born in 1926 in New York, New York, and died in 2012 in West Bloomfield, Michigan at age 86. For his career, he batted .241 with 20 home runs and 182 RBIs. Ginsburg played for the Detroit Tigers, Cleveland Indians, Kansas City Athletics, Baltimore Orioles, Chicago White Sox, Boston Red Sox, and New York Mets from 1948 to 1962. He was Jewish and caught Virgil Truck's no-hitter, the first of 2 that year for Trucks. In the minor leagues, Ginsburg played for the Denver Bears, Jamestown Falcons, Toledo Mud Hens, and Seattle Rainiers. Joe Ginsburg. Owen Friend was a middle infielder. He batted .235 with 16 hits. Scored 7 runs, 2 doubles, 2 home runs, 13 RBIs, 5 walks in 34 games. Friend was born in 1927 in Granite City, Illinois, and died in 2007 in Wichita, Kansas at age 80. During his playing career, he batted .227 with 13 home runs and 76 RBIs. Friend played for the St. Louis Browns, Detroit Tigers, Cleveland Indians, Boston Red Sox, and Chicago Cubs from 1949 to 1956. They called him Red. After he retired, he was a manager in the minor leagues for 11 years. He also worked as a scout for the Houston Astros and Baltimore Orioles. He was the coach for the original 1969 Kansas City Royals. He wore number 5 for the Royals, which was worn and then retired by George Brett. In the minor leagues, he played for the Billings Mustangs, Dallas Rangers, Elmira Pirate Pioneers, Louisville Colonels, Memphis Chickasaws, Muskegon Clippers, Newark Moundsmen, Raleigh Capitals, Wenatchee Chiefs, Rocky Mount Senators. And he also played in Cuba for the Havana Sugar Kings. Owen Friend. Hank Majewski batted .300. At 15 hits, he scored 6 runs, had a double, 2 home runs, 12 RBIs, 3 walks in 50 games. And Majewski was with Cleveland from 1952 to 1955. Hank Majewski. Jim Lemon was an infielder. Lemon batted .174 with 8 hits. He scored 5 runs, a double, a home run, 5 RBIs, 3 walks, and struck out 15 times in 16 games. Lemon was with Cleveland in 1950 and in 1953. This was the end of his time in Cleveland. His MLB career continued until 1963. Jim Lemon. Barney McCoskey batted .190 with 4 hits. He scored 3 runs, 3 doubles, 3 RBIs, a walk in 22 games. McCoskey was with Cleveland from 1951 to 1953, and this was the end of his MLB career. Barney McCoskey. Hank Foiles was a spare catcher. Foiles batted .143 with 1 hit in 7 at-bats. He scored 2 runs, had a walk in 7 games. Foiles was born in 1929 in Richmond, Virginia, and he's still alive today in 2019 at age 89. During his playing career, he batted .243 with 46 home runs and 166 RBIs. Foiles played for the Cincinnati Reds, Cleveland Indians, Pittsburgh Pirates, Kansas City Athletics, Detroit Tigers, Baltimore Orioles, and Los Angeles Angels from 1953 to 1964. He was an All-Star in 1957 with the Pirates. Very capable defensive catcher with a strong throwing arm. He was the first MLB player to wear contact lenses for his vision. In 1958, he led the National League in catchers by throwing out 50% of would-be base stealers. He may be the only MLB catcher to throw out Jackie Robinson twice, trying to steal in one game. After he retired, he ran an insurance business and was a member of the Kempsville Masonic Lodge number 196. He's in the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. Foiles filed a $7 million class action lawsuit against the Baltimore Orioles for their use of his likeness in a set of promotional baseball cards. In the minor leagues, he played for the Binghamton Triplets, Hawaii Islanders, Kansas City Blues, Manchester Yankees. In Venezuela for the Gavilanes de Maracaibo and the Industriales de Valencia, Leones de Caracas, and Navegantes del Magallanes. Hank Foiles. Dick Aylward was another spare catcher. He batted 3 times, did not have a hit in one game. Aylward was born in 1925 in Baltimore, Maryland, and died in 1983 in Spring Valley, California at age 58. His MLB career was just with the Cleveland Indians in 1953. He was in the U.S. Army in the Second World War and served in Europe. In the minor leagues, he played for the Dallas Eagles, Des Moines Bruins, Lockport Cubs, Nashville Vols, and Tulsa Oilers in 14 seasons in the minor leagues. Dick Aylward. Dick Wyke was a pinch runner. He did not bat. He scored a run in one game, and Wyke was with Cleveland in 1950 and 1953. This was the end of his time in Cleveland. His MLB career continued until 1954. Dick Wyke. The pitching staff was anchored by ace pitcher Bob Lemon, who was 21-15 with an ERA of 3.36. 41 games, 36 starts, 23 complete games, 5 shutouts, a save, 286 2/3 innings pitched, and 98 strikeouts. Lemon batted .232 with 26 hits. He scored 12 runs, 9 doubles, a triple, 2 home runs, 17 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 7 walks, struck out 20 times in 51 games. Lemon could hit. Lemon played for Cleveland from 1941 to 1942, from 1946 to 1958, and in 1953 he was on the All-Star team. Bob Lemon. Mike Garcia was 18-9 with an ERA of 3.25, 38 games, 35 starts, 21 complete games, 3 shutouts, 271 2/3 innings pitched, and 134 strikeouts. Garcia batted .250 with 24 hits. He scored 8 runs, 5 doubles, 5 RBIs, 3 walks, struck out 15 times. Garcia was with Cleveland from 1948 to 1959, and he played for the American League All-Star team in 1953. Mike Garcia. Early Wynn was 17-12 with an ERA of 3.93, 36 games, 34 starts, 16 complete games, a shutout, 251 and two-thirds innings pitched, and 138 strikeouts. Wynn batted .275 with 25 hits. He scored 11 runs, 2 doubles, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, 7 walks, and struck out 17 times. Wynn was with Cleveland from 1949 to 1957, and in 1963, early Wynn. Bob Feller was 10-7 with an ERA of 3.59. 25 games, all starts, 10 complete games, a shutout, 175 and two-thirds innings pitched, and 60 strikeouts. Feller batted .107 with 6 hits. He scored 3 runs, had a double and RBI, 6 walks, and struck out 23 times. Feller was with Cleveland from 1936 to 1941, and from 1945 to 1956, and was a Tribe Goodwill Ambassador till the end of his life. Feller said, quote, "My positive thinking worked. I wasn't through after all. I won 10 games for the Indians in '53, and there's always room in baseball for a pitcher who can win 10 games for you. We won more than 90 games for the 4th straight year. We knew that any team able to win more than 90 games 4 years in a row is a team that can win it all. We couldn't wait for 1954. Bob Feller." Art Houteman was 7-7 with an ERA of 3.80, 22 games, 13 starts, 6 complete games, a shutout, 3 saves, 109 innings pitched, and 40 strikeouts. Houteman batted .147 with 5 hits. He scored 3 runs, had a double, a walk, struck out 5 times in 23 games. Houteman was born in 1927 in Detroit, Michigan, and died in 2003 in Rochester Hills, Michigan at age 75. For his career, he won 87 games, lost 91, an ERA of 4.14 and 639 strikeouts. Houteman played for the Detroit Tigers, Cleveland Indians, and Baltimore Orioles from 1945 to 1957. He was an All-Star in 1950 with the Tigers, won a World Series title in 1945 with Detroit. He was nearly killed in a car accident before the 1949 season. He won an American League title in 1954 with the Tribe. After he retired, he worked as a sales executive in Detroit. Now, in that car accident, he had a skull fracture. 1951, with the U.S. Army, he was working with heavy weapons and had severe headaches because of the guns being discharged, and probably connected to his fractured skull. 1952, his 7-month-old daughter died in a car accident. Tragic. On June 15th, he came to the Tribe in a trade from Detroit, and he attended the last game at Tiger Stadium in 1999. His grandfather was an immigrant from Belgium, Art Houteman. Bob Hooper was a relief pitcher. Hooper was 5-4 with an ERA of 4.02, 43 games, 7 saves, 69 and one-third innings pitched, and 16 strikeouts. Hooper batted .083 with 1 hit and 12 at-bats and had a walk. He was born in 1922 in Leamington, Ontario, Canada, and died in 1980 in New Brunswick, New Jersey at age 57. For his career, he was 40-41 with an ERA of 4.80 and 196 strikeouts, and 620 and two-thirds innings pitched. Hooper played for the Philadelphia Athletics, Cleveland Indians, and Cincinnati Redlegs from 1950 to 1955. The Second World War, he was in the U.S. Army Air Forces. He was a manager in the minor leagues for the Baltimore Orioles and worked as a scout for the New York Mets. He was a PE teacher in the New Brunswick, New Jersey public schools. In the minor leagues, he played for the Jacksonville Tars, Vancouver Mounties, and Jersey City Giants. Bob Hooper. Dave Hoskins was 9-3 with an ERA of 3.99, 26 games, 7 starts, 3 complete games, a save, 112 and two-thirds innings pitched, and 55 strikeouts. Hoskins batted .259 with 15 hits. He scored 10 runs, 2 doubles, a home run, 9 RBIs, 3 walks, struck out 11 times in 38 games. Hoskins was born in 1925 in Greenwood, Mississippi, and died in 1970 in Flint, Michigan at age 44. For his career, he was 9-4 with an ERA of 3.81 and 139 and a third innings pitched. He played for his entire career was with the Cleveland Indians from 1953 to 1954. He was the first African American in the Texas League. He faced hostility, curses, and taunts there. He also played in the Negro Leagues for the Chicago American Giants and the Homestead Grays from 1942 to 1946. He won an American League title in 1954 with the Tribe. In the minor leagues, he played for the Grand Rapids Jets and Montreal Royals. He also played in Venezuela for the Licoreros de Pampero, Navegantes de Magallanes, and Rapiños de Occidente, and in Mexico for the Petroleros de Poza Rica. Dave Hoskins. Bill Wright was a relief pitcher. Wright was 2-1 with an ERA of 3.71, 20 games, a save, 26 and 2/3 innings pitched, and 14 strikeouts. He batted 5 times, did not have a hit, and struck out twice. Wright was born in 1922 in Rio Vista, California, and died in 2007 in Mount Shasta, California, at age 85. For his career, he was 77 and 99 with an ERA of 3.95 and 574 strikeouts. Wright pitched for the New York Yankees, Chicago White Sox, Boston Red Sox, Detroit Tigers, Cleveland Indians, Baltimore Orioles, Cincinnati Redlegs, and St. Louis Cardinals from 1946 to 1958. He was a scout for the Houston Colt 45s and also the Houston Astros and Atlanta Braves for 37 years. He signed Hall of Famer Joe Morgan for Houston in 1962, who became a star for the Cincinnati Reds in the 1970s. Wright played in the minors for the Norfolk Tars and Idaho Falls Russets. Bill Wright. Lou Brissy was a relief pitcher. Brissy had no decisions and an ERA of 7.62, 16 games, 2 saves, 113 innings pitched, and 5 strikeouts. He did not bat. Brissy was with Cleveland from 1951 to 1953, and this was the end of his MLB career. Lou Brissy. Al Aylward was 1-1 with an ERA of 7.50, 6 games, 6 innings pitched, and 4 strikeouts. He did not bat. Aylward was with Cleveland in 1950 and 1953. This was the end of his time in Cleveland. His MLB career continued until 1957. Al Aylward. Bob Chacales was 0-2 with an ERA of 2.67, 7 games, 3 starts, a complete game, 27 innings pitched, and 6 strikeouts. He batted .286 with 2 hits and 7 at-bats and struck out once. Chacales was with Cleveland from 1951 to 1954. Bob Chacales. Steve Gromack was 1-1 with an ERA of 3.27, 5 games, 1 start, 11 innings pitched, and 8 strikeouts. He batted twice, did not have a hit, and struck out once. Gromack was with Cleveland from 1941 to 1953. This was the end of his time in Cleveland. His MLB career continued until 1957. On June 15, 1953, he was traded to the Detroit Tigers. Tremendous career and really good guy, Steve Gromack. Dick Tomanek was 1-0 with an ERA of 2.00, 1 game, which was a start, which he completed, 9 innings pitched, and 6 strikeouts. He batted 5 times, did not have a hit, struck out 3 times. Tomanek was born in Avon Lake, Ohio, and is still alive in 2019 at age 88. For his career, he was 10-10 with an ERA of 4.95 and 231 strikeouts. Tomanek pitched for the Cleveland Indians and Kansas City Athletics from 1953 to 1959. They called him Bones. In the minors, he pitched for the Dallas-Fort Worth Rangers. Dick Tomanek. And finally, Ted Wilkes had no decisions and an ERA of 7.36. 4 games, 3 2/3 innings pitched, and 2 strikeouts. He did not bat. Wilkes was with Cleveland from 1952 to 1953, and this was the end of his MLB career. Ted Wilkes. After the regular season, the World Series was played of 1953, and the New York Yankees, American League champions, defeated the Brooklyn Dodgers, National League champions, 4-2. This was the 4th Yankees-Dodgers World Series in 7 years, and the Yankees set a record by winning their 5th World Series in a row, which has never been equaled. Hall of Famers in the World Series included Casey Stengel manager Yogi Berra, Whitey Ford, Mickey Mantle, Johnny Mize, and Phil Rizzuto. And for the Dodgers, Roy Campanella, Pee Wee Reese, Jackie Robinson, Duke Snider, and Dick Williams, who became a manager later and was in the Hall of Fame as a manager. Billy Martin had 12 hits, batted .500 with 2 home runs. 1953, the Brooklyn Dodgers owner Walter O'Malley had this to say about Ebbets Field, the ballpark where the Dodgers played in Brooklyn, quote, "The aisles are too narrow. The stairs are too steep. Poles obstruct the views. We can't park enough cars. We need twice as many seats. The bathrooms smell. The girders holding up the whole thing are rusting away." Of course, he was the guy who moved the team to Los Angeles. They weren't able to get work out a deal to have a new stadium built for the Dodgers in Brooklyn. After the World Series, several Brooklyn Dodgers cried in the clubhouse. Pee Wee Reese said, quote, "Not me. I didn't cry till I got home." Early in the season, Mickey Mantle hit the second longest home run in the history of Major League Baseball at Washington's Griffith Stadium, 560-foot shot out of the park, and got the nickname the tape measure home run. Yankees had an 18-game winning streak during the season, ended by Satchel Paige and the St. Louis Browns. Roy Campanella of the Dodgers set records for catchers by hitting 42 home runs and 142 RBIs, which are records or at least at the time, were all-time records for a single season by a catcher. Steve O'Neill, former Cleveland Indian player and manager, said, quote, he called Campanella the best catcher in baseball. Roy Campanella said, quote, "You have to be a man to be a big leaguer, but you have to have a lot of little boy in you too." After this series, the Brooklyn Dodgers played the 7 World Series and lost all 7 and were 0-7. Pretty tough. Casey Stengel said, quote, "Billy Martin's accomplishments are important for baseball. They show what a young man can do in these United States, what a game and determined kid can accomplish in our great sport of baseball." Game 6 of the World Series, Martin had the game-winning and World Series-winning RBI single, which scored Hank Bauer. He later became famous as a manager, especially in the 1970s with the New York Yankees. After the World Series, a Dodger reporter said, quote, "Rooting against the Yankees is like rooting against United States Steel." Again, Billy Martin was 12 for 24, batting average of 500 in the 53 World Series, the second most productive batting performance in a World Series after Babe Ruth, who went 10 for 16 for an average of 625 in the 1928 World Series. Martin had 12 hits, 2 triples, 2 home runs, and 8 RBIs. Now, the MVPs for 1953 in the American League, Al Rosen of the Cleveland Indians, and in the National League, Roy Campanella for the Brooklyn Dodgers. So that's the story of the 1953 Cleveland Indians. They had a tremendous year. God bless the guys who played for the Cleveland Indians in 1953, and everyone else associated with the team, including the fans, especially the First World War veterans, Second World War veterans, and Korean War veterans. Captains of the Cuyahoga, lovers of Lake Erie, Terminal Tower Power, fans of the Free Stamp Statue and the Fountain of Eternal Life, Euclid Avenue Electricity, Severance Hall Stalwarts, Cleveland Museum of Art enthusiasts, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Museum rebels, Christmas Story House happy people, Museum of Contemporary Art maniacs, Cleveland Botanical Garden goers, Old Arcade admirers, Playhouse Square seers, Settlers Landing Park purists, Western Reserve Historical Society wonders, First Energy Stadium friends, Progressive Field pals, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse renegades, God bless Dan Gilbert, Cuyahoga Valley National Park pioneers, and Great Lakes Science Center's supporters, Tribe, Browns, Cavs, Munsters, Gladiators, and Fusion Rule. And also Spiders, Bulldogs, Rosenblums, Barons, Rams, Crusaders, Force, Crunch, Lumberjacks, and Rockers rule in memory. Cleveland is the best location in the nation on the north coast of America. New York is the Big Apple. Cleveland is a plum. Tribe's kind of having a tough year. Go Tribe, no matter what. You might consider checking out our website, Adventures in History with Peter J. Ray at peterjray.com. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care. And I'll see you next time